So, our matchups. That is where we have in Legacy. On the Modern table, we have Hollow One versus Bant Spirits. Jacob Bard, the Modern player. And then we have Mono Red Aggro versus Red Black on the Standard table.
JD wins the die roll. That's a pretty big deal. She has been leaving up a Stifle turn 1 play with Scalding Tarn, though Bob leads on Volcanic Island. It's going to make JD want to produce a Wasteland. Bob's going to start things off with a Preordain. Try to shape up a combo. Looks like the hand is full of cantrips and a sneak attack, so he needs mana and a creature to sneak in. One top, one bottom with the Preordain.
Yeah, and a lot of times when playing this from the combo side, Eugene's going to waste away Bob's Volcanic Island. You want to get something going fast in this matchup. The longer it goes, Temur Delver is very good against combo.
Right. A lot of players, their inclination is to slow down, get mana to pay for Daze and Spell Pierce. The issue with that is you give the Delver player more time to produce Force of Will and just fight you with multiple points of interaction. The other thing is you're trying to shape up a lot of mana with lands. Sometimes they'll just Wasteland you and then just still have the Daze, or you gave them the time to draw the Daze or the Wasteland, and you're really not amounting to anything. You're just trading draw steps, and it gets worse for you.
Top bottom off this Preordain for Bob. This time it was off Basic Island, so he will be protected from Wasteland this turn. We'll see if Jadine can produce a threat. Looks like we may have something of that sort. Second land for Klomparens.
Yeah. Could be something as innocuous as a Preordain or a Ponder, rather, or a Brainstorm, but getting a creature online on this turn would be very good for Jadine.
For Jadine, a little light on threats. She's got 4 Delvers, 4 Nimble Mongoose, only 3 Tarmogoyfs, and 1 True Name, and that is it for creatures.
Yeah, 12 has been the number you play for a while. That split on Tarmogoyf True Name, it does make sense. You don't want to go heavy on the 3-mana creature, as 3 is a lot for the Temur Delver deck. But the True Nemesis, if you're able to resolve it, frequently will convert to more game wins than Tarmogoyf, as, you know, Fatal Push is a card in the format, Baleful Strix is a huge issue for the Delver deck.
Nimble Mongoose was the play for Jadine. Bob will try a Ponder, Jadine's Dazes, picking up that tropical island she had made.
And I like that Daze just because you know you're playing against a deck that's full on Ancient Tomb, City of Traders. It can be tough to convert a Daze.
So, Ryan, I want to talk about Bob's play there. He had Volcanic Island, but made Ponder before making the land drop. It was almost an invitation for Jadine to Daze the spell. Why would Bob play it that way?
So it looks like he has these sneak attacks, and he wants to be able to resolve that one. He does look to have an Ancient Tomb and another land, so he'll be able to shove through the sneak attack one way or the other. But he would like Jadine to get these blue cards, the counter spells, out of hand. Jadine can do something like Spell Pierce the sneak attack, back it up with Daze, or the other way around, and kind of build her own Force of Will. And wearing through those resources makes it harder for Jadine to fight that battle. And if the hand's already pretty well made on the combo, you don't need the Ponder.
Sure.
So Daze away.
Yeah, like it really disguises the information. On Jadine's side, then she wouldn't want... If she knew his hand, she would hold the Daze, but by not playing the land, he's really not letting her make a very educated call in that sense.
Right. And Jadine's going to turn up the pressure here. You see the end step Lightning Bolt. She's building up the threshold with this Nimble Mongoose.
Yeah, that was card number 5. She has the fetch land in play with Scalding Tarn, so there's 6. Plays Misty Rainforest, so if she's willing to give up all her fetch lands, the Mongoose is a 3-power creature already. Though a cantrip or anything else added should do it. Looks like it'll be both fetch lands.
And I believe that I spotted a tropical island already in Jadine's hand, which means that she does not have a Brainstorm.
Yeah, that was when she dazed with that tropical island a couple turns ago on the Ponder.
Yeah, so she's got some cards stranded in hand. Nimble Mongoose comes across for 3. That's a bingo square for me.
That's the first one on the board of the day. I'm alive for some. Emrakul Attacks is on my board for this round.
Ooh. On the end of Jadine's turn, Bob's going to try to crack that Scalding Tarn. Jadine's had this Stifle since turn 1.
And Bob's Spell Piercing the Stifle into 2 open mana. And Jadine just pays. And again, Bob's in a spot where he's playing cards, you know, this shows, I think, a lot of his adeptness in the matchup. Things like Spell Piercing into open mana, getting his spells dazed.
He wanted to tap Jadine off a Spell Pierce, but the counter spell in hand, as you see here, Bob goes for Sneak Attack. Jadine has Force of Will. And Bob not able to fight back there, but I believe he has a second sneak attack to try next turn.
Right.
The issue with that is it means he doesn't have the creature yet.
Right. He just has a land and a sneak attack. First game result. Zan Syed on Bant Spirits takes game 1 on the modern table over Jacob Bard. Mongoose hits again. And because Bob Haung, rather, is tapping this Ancient Tomb for these sneak attacks, those are very much going to add up in a matchup like this.
Oh, yeah. If he's not able to do something dramatic on this turn, which would pretty much amount to having drawn Emrakul, Jadine will be able to close this pretty easily with just one lightning bolt.
Down to 5. Sneak attack again for Bob. Leaving himself open to burn.
We know that one of Jadine's 2 cards is Tropical Island, so she can't have Force of Will here.
And Bob knows that too, most importantly.
Right. So there's Lotus Petal and Scalding Tarn up, so there's no singular card that can fight over a sneak attack here.
Right. So Bob's last card in hand is Brainstorm. So he's setting up to take a hit, go to 2, draw, cast that Brainstorm, and hope to find some sort of monster.
It looks like Bob's thinking about whether to just fire off the Brainstorm this turn. The thing about it is if you just let Jadine attack you again, that means that Lightning Bolt's just going to beat you before you can try to convert on the following turn.
I think he's going to do that. Jadine's at a very convenient 15.
Yeah, being able to find Emrakul here would be huge.
And there's the Brainstorm. Ooh, I like this. This is a part of Magic I enjoy. 3 cards. Either you win or you don't.
Right. This is what you sign up for when you play Sneak and Show.
Let's do it. Okay. Brainstorm's going to resolve. 1, 2. Oh, there we go.
Wow.
There we go. I think we're going to put the other 2 back. That's Emrakul. Jadine's at 15.
All right, here's a check for a
Sneaking
Stifle.
it into play.
Does Jadine have Stifle? Nope,
No,
she's just going to lose.
She takes all, sacrifices 6. And Bob Haung takes game 1, finds the Emrakul off the Brainstorm. What a game.
Yeah, great navigation on both sides. And, yeah, that Brainstorm for Bob, that put it together.
I mean, go back to the turn with that daze he got on a cantrip. He didn't have an extra mana on that combo turn. Jadine could have dazed any part of it. Now, to be fair, that's given him the ponder, but I want to give Bob credit for drawing out a daze early on to set up plays like this.
I still agree with Jadine's daze. I think that was a good daze.
I agree with both sides of it.
Right.
For both Bob to draw it and for Jadine to daze it is correct. Mm-hmm. I'm going to check off Emrakul attacks as well.
I believe it entered tapped and attacking. We'll go to sideboards here for Jadine Klomparens, now down a game. She has 2 Abrade, 2 Pyroblast, 2 Surgical Extraction, an Ancient Grudge, a Flusterstorm, a Sylvan Library, a True Name Nemesis, a Rough Tumble, a Grafdigger's Cage, a Sulfur Elemental, a Submerge, and a Spell Snare. So only a couple things that really play here. The 2 Pyroblasts are great. They fight against Show and Tell and cantrips, which you will do from time to time. The Flusterstorm, unfortunately, cannot counter Sneak Attack, much like the Pyroblast, but you do still want it. You want to be able to fight over Show and Tell, and you kind of have to go for these kind of elements. Surgical can be okay in this matchup because there's only so many cards that matter.
Right.
It's not great.
What are you looking to Surgicals? Normally a Gristlebrand or an Emrakul won't end up in the graveyard.
Right. So they can sometimes, but it generally will not happen. It's typically going to be getting a Show and Tell in the graveyard, not fighting over that again. Maybe get rid of Sneak Attack. And since some of your counter spells don't counter Sneak Attack, the Pyroblast, the Flusterstorm, if you're able to daze that one and then Surgical it, that can be a big deal. And then not too much else that you want to do. And then for Bob Haung, his sideboard, 4 Grafdigger's Cage, 3 Arcane Artisan.
Yeah.
Not great in the Lightning Bolt matchup.
No, not great. That's one I hope we get to see here at some point. This is from Battle Bond. It's another way to show and tell a creature into play. Mm-hmm. But yeah, because it means it's a 0/3 for 3 that has to stay alive. I don't like X3s against Teamer, and I don't really like 3 mana cards against Teamer, so I can see some reasons to not put this in.
We have 2 Blood Moon, 2 Abrade, 2 Pyroclasm, a Defense Grid, and a Boseiju who shelters all. Actually, all of those last 8 cards there, pretty good in the matchup.
Yeah, Blood Moon, Jadine does not play basics. Defense Grid, of course. Boseiju, of course. Tell me about Pyroclasm and Abrade here.
Abrade I actually don't like so much. That's going to be more for like a Death and Taxes matchup. But against Teamer Delver, Pyroclasm is a great answer to an early Nimble Mongoose. If you catch it while it's still a 1/1, you can really slow the deck down. If you're able to buy that time just hitting their threats, that gives you way more time to just set up your combo and take control of the game.
No, I do want to have a question while we're still on Bob Huang's sideboard. Bob Huang is a player who really has a good finger on the pulse of Legacy at any time. He plays a lot of this format. A full play set of Graph Digger's Cage in the sideboard. That is what's he fighting against? I understand usually you see one, Jadine has one herself, but 4. Where is he going with this?
So his deck, you really can't sideboard too much in a given matchup. So he has a couple pieces that matter in most matchups. And then the concern this weekend, people think because Deathrite Shaman is leaving, that's going to make Dredge and or Reanimator very good.
Okay.
Reanimator is a very bad matchup for Sneak and Show.
Okay.
You can't just show and tell against the other Gristlebrand deck.
Right, you can't cast your show and tell. They're just as fast as you.
Right.
Okay.
So that's going to be the big place where you want it. And also, if people think that Dredge is good, that means they're going to be Cabal Therapying you a lot. You want to try to put the brakes on something like that.
Do you think Dredge is good this weekend?
No.
Okay.
I think
all right.
Dredge was already just good against the Deathrite Shaman decks, right?
Yeah,
just good against Grixis Delver. That's not why people stop playing Dredge. People stop playing Dredge because it's not very good. That's why people stop playing Dredge.
Oh, man, Twitch chat is so angry at you right now.
That's just a fact. You can disagree with facts. That's fine. It just won't get you very far.
One Deathrite Shaman activation was not enough to hurt Dredge. Well, Manaless Dredge. Manaless Dredge, Deathrite's really good against.
That's a fact. I will not contest that.
Full sweep of game 1s. Over in the standard table, Julian John takes a win with black-red aggro.
Kind of like in Vintage, I think that they should restrict Mishra's Workshop, and there are people that say, well, you should restrict Workshop and Bazaar. I'm like, wait. You are diminishing the value of the argument against Workshop by bringing Bazaar into the conversation because Dredge is not very good.
What if the argument is I bought 4 workshops, and really, if you restrict that, what am I going to do?
That seems to be the argument in favor of Workshop, right? It's clearly too good.
Yes, it is the best card in Vintage.
It's just 5 Black Lotuses. Whatever.
Jadine mulliganing here for the second game. If you haven't had a chance to check out our weekly sale over at StarCityGames.com, there is still time. Up to 25% off select core set singles. Still all through today.
Get those Yavimaya coasts. Play some Bant Eldrazi.
I like the Whisper Silk Cloaks on this one. That's just... What a good card in Limited. Oh, man. That's just a treat.
I am willing to bet that the price of Whisper Silk Cloak would surprise you.
No.
That is a big casual card.
Is it the most valuable card on the screen?
It's probably Chandra Pyramaster.
Okay. Is Whisper Silk Cloak in second?
I bet it's above Yavimaya Coast and probably above Sundial. I don't actually know the price of Sundial. That's another weird one.
Yeah, that one could be.
This is actually a list of cards that I would check the price of literally any time I had to interact with them.
Yeah.
Because it could be anything.
Sundial Infant's one of those. It's it's in this category of weirdo artifacts that have appeal. Stuff like Strionic Resonator. We're like, oh, this could be something.
It's the sort of thing where some commander comes out that I didn't read, and then people are like, yeah, that card's going to blow up because of this card that has a 5-word name. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's probably true.
Rings of Brighthearth. That's another one.
There's a card, Foil Unspeakable Symbols. I knew they were worth like $8 for a long time, but I had no idea why. And someone's like, oh yeah, Marchesa of the Black Rose. It's like, yeah, okay, sure.
Oh, okay.
Whatever. I found that out when I built a Marchesa of the Black Rose commander deck.
She's like the one who dethrones, right?
Yeah.
Very flavorful. Jadine on 6 keeps. She'll start with a Fetchland Ponder.
It's a good place to start. You would ideally like to be leaving up Stifle on the first turn. You really want to stunt the mana development of Sneak and Show. That's a big part of your game plan.
Yeah. There's this really early phase where Bob can make a turn 1 or 2 show and tell, and you need to just kind of pass that check.
Right. The turn 1 is terrifying. Frequently they won't go for it. It means Soul Land, Lotus Petal, playing into Daze, if that's the plan.
Right. On the draw, I'm pretty scared to go for that kind of thing against Temur Delver. There's just too many ways it goes wrong. But at the same time, as you were playing game 1, if I have the ability to try for it on turn 1 or 2, I'd really like to convert. I don't just want to sit back and let the Temur player cast cantrips.
Right. Yeah, you can usually afford to play through Daze specifically. You don't want to get too into your own head trying to play around Spell Pierce.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. In the history of Legacy, there's been different, I think, types of combo decks. There's the ones that are fast and very powerful, and then there's the ones that are slow and build up. So like I know I talk about High Tide. That's something I used to play a lot. We don't get as much of that anymore. That was a deck where if you could just trade land drops and cantrips with Delver, you'd go ahead and do it. Eventually, you'd have a combo and like, I'd have like a combo and 3 blue packs in my hand or something.
Right.
But Sneak and Show is not that kind of deck.
The big issue for Sneak and Toe in that kind of game is that your combo is actually just a multiple card combo that has to hang out in your hand.
Right.
So that makes you worse at fighting the Force of Will fights.
Jadine's second turn makes Delver of Secrets, makes Wasteland, but Bob fetched up the 1 basic island here, so he'll actually get to keep his mana. Or rather, one of his 3 basic islands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basic island actually one of the better cards in the deck in this matchup.
Absolutely. Now, he has boarded in Pyroclasm, it looks like. So, with a second land here, he could go for just a simple Pyroclasm on the Delver. It looks like instead he'll go Ponder and have a fetch land.
I believe I've spotted one of those sideboard Arcane Artisans in Bob's hand.
Top 3 cards, he has a second Pyroclasm. So here's Arcane Artisan. For 3 mana, it's a 0/3. It has the ability of 3 and tap. Target player, he's going to target himself, draws a card, then exiles a card from their hand. Presumably, he'll exile a Gristlebrand or a Nemmercool.
That's the dream.
And then when that card is exiled, he'll create a creature token of that card. So it is basically going to be a show and tell in that regard. However, if Arcane Artisan leaves the battlefield, all the tokens created with it leave at the beginning of the next end step.
Yeah. The thing to like about Arcane Artisan is you can't Spell Pierce it, you can't Flusterstorm it, and also Jadian's probably light or off Lightning Bolt in the sideboard games. You can still Red Blast it, you can still Daze it, you can stifle this ability. That's less of a factor.
Transform off Spell Pierce for the Delver of Secrets, now an Insectile Aberration. Now, in case you're wondering, those are actually new sleeves, is what's going on with Jadine's card right there.
Those are the smokes. She loves these mint dragon shields, and she doesn't want to use checklist cards. It's really important to make sure you have opaque sleeves. These perfect fits obscure the back of the card so you can't see them through the sleeve.
All right. And here I was going to say it's a Comic-Con promo on the back side. on the front side, it's just a Delver.
Yeah, so that's a 3/2 flyer, but it looks like a blob of Sharpie.
Here's a Pyroclasm from Bob. It's not his only one. After Jadine fights over this, you see how that Ponder, he kept a second Pyroclasm.
It's also scary to fight over Pyroclasm because this is a deck that just casts spells that win the game on the spot.
Right, you're like, man, I have one Force of Will. I really don't want to Force of Will Pyroclasm.
Bob's land for turn being Ancient Tomb means that you can't just Spell Pierce it.
And it will resolve. Bob's hand a little clunky here. It's second Pyroclasm, Arcane Artisan, Force of Will, 2 lands. A lot to be desired here. Brainstorm from Jadine. And Sneaking shows a deck that doesn't very easily hardcast Force of Wills. You have to have a second basic island.
It tends to cost them 2 life to do that.
Yeah. Well, also just double blue is not always around.
The big issue is they don't usually want to Force of Will your stuff, like your proactive elements, so it means they have to have like 8 mana.
Yeah, all right.
That's why they don't do it.
They don't go into control mode very often where they just sit back and Force of Will things.
Yeah. A matchup that they're actually pretty good at playing both the control and the aggro in is against Storm. That's a horrendously bad matchup for Storm. That's actually one of your worst matchups.
Really?
Because they just board in a bunch of Flusterstorms or like main deck some of them and board in more.
Okay.
So you have to both stop them from comboing with your discard spells but also hit their Flusterstorms. It's really rough for Storm. Jadine was able to get a fetch land there, and she wastelanded Bob. I don't know if she's leaving up a counterspell with the Tropical Island, but she drew a Nimble Mongoose, and she doesn't have Threshold yet, so she's going to try to play around in another copy of Pyroclasm, which I like a lot.
Yeah, here's Nimble Mongoose, but there's still only 6 cards. This is playing into the Pyroclasm.
It's not really, though.
Maybe.
You can just respond with all kinds of things. Brainstorm in response, and then you have a 3/3.
If only Bob had that Ancient Tomb, he could have hardcast a Force of Will right here.
I don't think he would have.
No, but whatever. After saying it never happens, I'm like, surprise, here it is.
Would have been nice.
Yeah, looking at this board, if I'm on the Sneak and Show side, I see this Pyroclasm. It's just, something will go wrong if I try this.
We had a fetch land get stifled earlier in this match, so I'm just going to check that box. That's a bingo square.
So the Emrakul attacks is pretty nice for me. Unfortunately, that bingo involves cleansing Nova, destroying all creatures. So,
Yikes.
check. When we get our metagame breakdown, we'll see if any of the standard decks have registered that card.
Speaking of the stifling fetch lands, Bob's going to go for that. JD's not ready with the stifle.
All right.
Bob with another fetch land, and wisely finds a second basic island. So just 3 basics on the battlefield.
Well, now that Pyroclasm's not going to work at all. Nimble Mongoose is a 3/3.
I'd expect Arcane Artisan to be the play here.
And here we go. The 0/3 from Battle Bond. Yeah, JD's
I
going
was
to read it.
about to say, I expect
check it
JD
again.
to read it. What is this card? Okay.
What I actually like here, Ryan, is that you can just loot with it. Now, JD will daze, so that's what we're going to see of Arcane Artisan in this game. As is often the case with Team or Delver, if you try to board in a cool 3-mana card against them, they will just say, "Whoa, that's something I can daze."
Yeah, JD abided by the rules of Delver. If your opponent casts a spell you have to read, you should counter it.
Bob casts Show and Tell. JD and Spell Pierces. Now, I actually think that was a bluff Show and Tell. I don't think he has a monster.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great play by Bob. It's what you're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
You know, get those counters out of the hand. Eventually, you'll have a combo. Actually, he had Sneak Attack already in hand, so he was going to put that in.
Okay.
Which you see them do sometimes.
All right, we're up to 4-0. Julian John 2-0 wins over Aaron Barich. So JD's going to need to take this game now.
This game looks okay for her. This brainstorm for Bob. It did produce a Gristlebrand, so now he has a second Show and Tell, Sneak Attack, Gristlebrand. There's a Force of Will. JD is going to have to close fast. Oh, and Bob has City of Traders too, so he's threatening to just go for the combo on consecutive turns here.
Well, he can do it this turn almost, right? She can Show and Tell with Force backup.
Yeah, he can shove here.
City of Traders, Show and Tell.
There's a couple things JD could have. Could have Spell Pierce, all right.
Spell Pierce, Force of Will, Force back. JD's going to win this counter war, but winning the battle, but she's going to lose the war over.
Well, I don't know if that's true. Is there's only 1 red mana available? He's
yeah,
going
it's
to
only
resolve
1 red.
Sneak Attack, and then the Mongoose hangs out. We see where the game goes from there. The match is over.
Syed did take game 2 over Jacob Bard, so it is a 5-0 sweep there for the team of Haung, Syed, and John. We saw pretty dominant yesterday from them as well. They are on a roll.
Yeah, Syed was saying that he thinks he's really onto something with this evolution of Bat Spirits. Apparently this is actually Cat Light's main deck, and he's made some tweaks to the sideboard, but the Supreme Phantom, a huge upgrade for the deck.
Well, we saw him playing yesterday against humans, and that's a tier 1 deck, and Zan kept pace pretty well.
Yeah, in game 1, he actually just raced outright. I have a bunch of flyers, they have a bunch of power, and I can close before you can.
Yeah. So we do have another deck I want to talk about here. Despite being on the losing side, Aaron Barich, our invitational champion, playing mono red. It's I said it was mono red Flame of Keld, and it almost is. So take the mono red Flame of Keld list, but cut the Flame of Kelds for main deck Hazarets, and that's basically what Aaron has done this weekend.
You can make the argument that Hazaret is a better card than Flame of Keld.
Certainly true.
I could be convinced.
Now, what are your thoughts on 4 Shock, 4 Wizard Lightning, 4 Lightning Strike right now in Standard? That's a ton of burn coming at the cost of your mid-range cards. They're not going to see any Rekindling Phoenix here.
Part of the argument here is that the format seems to have gone very mid-range. There's a lot of Nicol Bolas